Welcome to the BobbleOn podcast,
where we're committed to providing practical advice and strategies to increase your revenue, unify your team, and create accountability throughout your organization.
Let's go.
BobbleOn. So this week is a little different. I don't feel like myself because I don't have my best friend with me. Zach is handling a personal matter this week, and so I'm doing a solo podcast. It never feels good being without him, but I'm going to forge on just like he has in the past and supported me and deliver a passionate, energetic episode for you guys. This week, I really want to talk about overcoming significant challenge. And I think every single person listening to this can relate in some way, whether it be a professional challenge, a personal loss, a family challenge, whatever it might be. No one's living an easy life. We all have things to deal with, and some challenges are a lot easier than others. And I want to talk about getting through like really significant challenges, the type of challenges that you might only have 2 or 3 times in your life, hopefully. And I'll come back to that in a second. First, I'm going to give you my personal best, and I'm going to change it up and give you my personal best also related to Zach's life. So first off, for Zach, I just found out today that he got good news. He has had a foot issue for like 6 years, and you guys might know he loves playing basketball, and he's a really good ball player. And it sucks because he's not able to play as often as he'd like to. And it's because he's got a lot of pain in his toe. And he's gone to probably dozens of doctors, and he hasn't been able to get a good diagnosis. Well, today he actually got a really good diagnosis early this morning. And that is an awesome positive sign because that means that he knows exactly what he needs to do to get it better. So that, in my world, was my personal best for him, is the clarity and knowledge of what's wrong. Because after 6 years, and a lot of you guys might have had injuries yourself. I know I've had plenty of injuries. The injuries, I know what the plan is going to be to get through it. I'm fine with the time. I'm fine with the recovery and PT. I'm fine with the stuff that you have no idea why you're feeling the way you do. That sucks, and I know he's been living with that for a while. So that's my personal highlight for him. For myself, Parker had a fun milestone this week. This past week, he had solid foods for the first time, which was a big step. It was so funny watching him try to eat it because he didn't know how to like chew and swallow or anything, and he clearly doesn't have teeth yet. So we fed him carrots, and he absolutely loved it. I mean, at first he wasn't loving it, but then a couple spoonfuls in, he was just gobbling it up and kept on staring at me and opening his mouth. And the following day we got ambitious and we gave him some vegetables. I think we gave him broccoli and something else. And the second I put it in his mouth, it was so funny because it's the first time ever I've seen his face contort in this manner. But he looked like he had just smelled like the worst fart or the worst skunk smell ever. And his face just contorted and he started crying. And so we quickly went back to sweet potatoes and carrots. But we're going to be slowly integrating that. But that was definitely my personal highlight. It's fun watching him progress. And every single week, for all you parents, you guys know, every single week or every day, I feel like he's changing, he's growing, he's becoming a different human. And it's just really fun to know that I'm having an influence on that. So that's my personal highlight. Coming back to today in the episode, I didn't want to sugarcoat things. I want to be really real with you guys. As you probably know, because a lot of you have enlisted for the last year, I've had a lot of things to be really grateful for and exciting, fun, big milestones, opportunities, transitions in my life this last year between, proposing and Sadie saying yes, getting engaged, finding out we were pregnant, having Parker, the last 5 months with Parker, Belle and our dog coming into our life and having that, a move, a transition, business sale, everything has been really exciting and things to be grateful for. But I think a lot of that, the reason why those things have all happened is the byproduct of overcoming massive challenge a few years ago. And I'm a big proponent. I know people say like growth comes from challenge. I really do believe it because I feel like I've lived it, and that growth has led me to be able to do a lot of things I don't think I would have been able to accomplish or get done in the time frame I have. And I want to talk a little bit about the challenge that I had, but it could be any challenge. As I mentioned earlier, like I know a lot of people, I've had personal conversations with people who are going through business transition problems. They're trying to take a business over from their parents, and that's really becoming difficult. People who've lost family members, people who have had to go into legal battles with their business partner, major failures and financial ruin when it comes to the business and overcoming that. Personally, I went through what a lot of other people have had to go through, and I don't wish it upon anyone, is a divorce. My ex-wife and I, we were together and married for almost 10 years, and we got divorced in 2016. And although now I'm sitting in a position where I'm actually very grateful that I encountered that challenge. I'm not grateful for divorce, that's silly, but I'm grateful to encounter and live through and get out of and feel stronger afterwards. And I want to talk a little bit about, what that experience was like, where I was emotionally and in my headspace, how I managed to kind of slowly get out of that in a few different phases, and where that led me now and where I am now. And so kind of rewind the clock, I think I'm not going to go deep into the actual divorce itself. No one wants to hear about that. It's not a psychiatry appointment here, but I would say that the emotions and the feelings are really relatable. Anyone who has loss and grief of loss. For me, it was much more, the biggest pain that I had was losing companionship. And after 10 years with someone, you really depend on them, they depend on you. If you don't have them in your life anymore, the prospect of not having them in your life, you lose that companionship, that feeling of, there's a witness of my life, I'm a witness of their life, there's history there's a lot of life there to give, and it feels like you're losing it all. It feels like you kind of lose the last decade of your life. And it leads to a lot of other things. And at the time, at first I tried to fight to hold things together, even after I realized it really was kind of time to move on, because I didn't want to have that loss. I didn't want to feel that loss. I wanted to, like a lot of you, I'm a solution-based person. I always think in solutions, and I'm very confident that I can create outcomes that I want. And I was very confident that I could turn things around and make things right. And I was wrong. I was not able to make that, I was not able to create what I thought I could create. After realizing that, I moved into a lot of other emotional pain where I went through a lot of doubt and concerns. I realized that the future wasn't what I thought it was going to be, and that was a massive realization. That was a crazy realization that I thought life was a blueprint, and everything leading up to that point kind of came true for me. I did what I wanted something. I wanted to accomplish something. I wanted life to look a certain way, and I put enough effort into it. I had a strategy behind it. I accomplished it. I felt good about it. So why not continue to feel that way? Well, this totally derailed that mindset, and I now don't look at life as a blueprint at all. I mean, you can have a vague vision, but definitely not a blueprint. I questioned a lot of other things. I thought about, I lost a friend, my best friend at the time, and that was really challenging, knowing that wouldn't come back. I lost my dog. At the time, I had a dog for 2 years. I lost, the time with that dog and the future with that dog, and the financial impact was really tough, and I kind of just felt jaded in general. So I'm not over examining this to sound like a sob story, but I want you guys to understand what emotional state I was in. And I wasn't in a place where I could just be grateful and find gratitude. Because a lot of times people are like, if you're going through a hard time, just focus on the things you're grateful for. Well, I think that's bullshit. I don't think when you're going through that much challenge and you're in that dark of a place, you can actually find anything to be grateful for. I think you wake up, you just move through the day, you get done what you have to get done, and you get to bed and you try to just live through another day. And I don't care what any type of loss you're going through, that's what grief looks like and getting through it. So for me, and going in now to kind of the phases and the sort of how I got myself out of this and sort of the steps that I think anyone can use successfully to get through and out of really tough challenges and be better for it as a better person and a more full individual. I think the first step was allowing myself time to be sad, allowing myself to not always be happy. Up until that point, I don't think I went a day without laughing, smiling, telling a joke, making someone else feel good. And for 2 weeks in February of 2015, I did not smile. And if you ask anyone at GNN, for 2 weeks, like, it was dead around here. People were like nervous to say anything. They were scared for me. They were unsure what to do. And I realized that I was in a really dark place. I definitely felt I was in a depressed mode for a couple weeks. And I kind of just at the time let myself feel that way. I said, you know what, this is going to take time. This is not going to be an overnight strategy, an overnight like turnaround. And the first step is just to be okay with being sad and like being okay with that and sitting with it. The next step for me was just really surrounding myself with people that believed in me, and not just people who loved me and supported me, because I think you'll find a lot of people who care about you, a lot of people that will support you through things and be there physically, but I needed people who believed in me, because at the time I kind of doubted myself, and it was the first time in my life I kind of didn't feel confident. And I needed people who were confident in me to remind me why I should be confident in myself. And so I surrounded myself with a ton of people who really believed in me, whether it be family members, especially Zach, and a lot of people at GNN who needed me to lead and continue to be an inspiration and a strategist. After that, I think there are 3 steps that really helped me. And I'm going to leave gratitude to the last one, because at that time, I still wasn't able to find gratitude. I was able to be around okay with being sad, sitting with that, being around people who believed me, which was important. The next step was forgiveness. And a lot of people talk about forgiveness. I had never understood the power of forgiveness until I forgave. And it's not just forgiving others. Actually, I'd argue it's more forgiving yourself. I think anytime we go through a major obstacle or challenge, a lot of times we question the decisions we made. We question the actions that we took. We think to ourselves, I know I did, what could I have done better? What could I have done different? How could I have avoided this? What did I do wrong? I almost wanted to find stuff that I did wrong so that it would make more sense for what happened, so I could avoid it in the future. And I remember one clear afternoon on a Saturday, I sat in my car and I was in tears, and I just realized I just was carrying resentment, I was carrying anger, I was carrying frustration. I needed to just let it go, and the only way to do it was to forgive myself. Forgive myself for being human, forgive other people involved, and my ex for her and my role in the entire experience. Some people who might be listening will say to themselves, okay, Matt, like, you forgave your partner, you forgave yourself, but like, it's easier said than done. Forgiveness isn't like something you can just click as a light switch. Like, I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm frustrated, I'm fearful, I'm scared, I'm nervous, I'm doubtful, whatever. Like, I can't just forgive. I'm carrying this with me right now. I don't have a place in my body to forgive. And I can relate to that. I was there for a little bit. I think that the first thing that was important for me to realize and be honest with myself was that I wanted to get through this. I wanted to be and feel better. I did not want to carry anger and resentment anymore, because it was painful and it was not natural. It was toxic in my body. And so I needed to first realize and be honest with myself that I wanted to get through it. And that gave myself a different lens. If you know you want to get through something, you're then now more open to the solutions at hand. And then I started searching and saying, like, how do I get myself out of this? And forgiveness was immediate. It was the only way through, because I realized that anger and frustration and resentment that I was having was only hurting me. No one else was feeling it. No one else was hearing it. No one else was seeing it. It was all internal dialogue. So literally, I was the only one impacted by what was going on between my ears. And forgiveness allowed me to just release that. And I think if I hadn't had given myself permission to get better and to feel better, I wouldn't have then been able to forgive myself. But I realized quickly that once I did, forgiveness was the only way to feel better and be better and get through it. And that was a huge, huge burden relieved. It was a huge burden lifted off my shoulders. And it's almost a necessary first step before mindfulness. And that's the second thing. So once I forgave myself, I was able to kind of see more clearly and open up. But I wasn't yet there to be grateful. I was still angry and frustrated, confused and doubtful. And so, but at least I wasn't carrying resentment and I wasn't angry at myself. I forgave myself. So the second step was mindfulness. And what I mean by that is asking yourself, why am I feeling the way I am? What trigger just happened? Like you're driving down the road, something happens, even if it's a thought that comes into your mind. Why did that cause me to feel this way? I'm angry, I'm upset, I'm sad, I'm doubtful, I'm not confident, I'm not myself. Why is that? Looking at back the last 10 minutes, what did I think? What came across my mind? What did I see? Who did I talk to? What did I say that's causing me to feel this way? We don't do that enough day to day. And actually, a side note, I know I'm going pretty emotional and intense right now, but side note, I'm reading a great book right now called Awareness by Anthony DeMello, and I'd recommend it to all of you listening. It really is helping me right now with awareness and mindfulness and asking myself questions and really getting centered around, who I am and my relationship with a lot more than just the people around me. So I'd recommend it to all you guys. Awareness by Anthony DeMello. It's on Audible. It's an easy read, really intelligent, thoughtful person who has got a ton of experience and is really funny too. But for me, it was asking myself, why am I feeling this way? I'm angry. What triggered me? Because by at least becoming more self-aware in the moment, in the micro moments, I was able to then shift my mindset at the time and say, you know what? I recognize this isn't healthy. I'm not being good to myself by feeling this way. I need to avoid that trigger. And that just being aware of the trigger was helpful. You do that enough times, you find yourself less, feeling angry and frustrated and resentful, and you find yourself feeling a little bit better. And when you get to that point through overcoming massive challenge, then and only then can you start to focus in on the gratitude piece. Because gratitude really is the end game. And if you can be grateful even 5% of the day or 3 times during the entire day, that's better than 0. And you build off of that. So I found myself at times just being grateful for super small things. Like I'm really grateful I'm able to make my own food today. I'm really grateful that it's 74 and I'm able to play 9 holes today. I'm really grateful that I have a business partner I can trust and rely on in times when I need them. And a team that believes in me. Things like that throughout the day would pop through my head and I'd find a little gratitude, but not all day. The benefit of gratitude that I feel is extremely powerful is when you find yourself grateful for small things, you feel more accomplished in the moment. You feel more empowered and powerful moving forward because you're like, wow, I just experienced something. I'm grateful for that opportunity. I'm grateful for that experience. And I want more of that. I want more of that. I want to go create more of that. I want to go do more of that. If you're mindful of it and you're aware of that feeling in that moment and what caused it, you're going to go create more of that. And that was a compound impact for me. And I just found myself more and more doing that more and more, to a point where I found myself less jaded, less angry, less frustrated, and just grateful for the experience. I know it sounds a little corny and cheesy and maybe a little outlandish, but I don't hold any resentment. I don't hold any anger, and I'm actually quite grateful for the experience. As I said in the beginning, I'm not grateful for divorce. I don't wish that anyone to go through that. But if you are going to go through it, like any other massive challenge in someone's life, it's how you deal with it, address it, move through it, and how you are afterwards that really is a sign of whether it was an experience worthwhile, whether it was something that you created a better you at the end. And for me, it undoubtedly did. And I left, the other side of it feeling protected. I felt like I could encounter and deal with any challenge that came my way after that. I felt like no matter what in life happens moving forward, I now have the process to take myself back through it. I'm not nervous or scared to deal with pain and problems in the future. And so I'm able to think bigger. I'm able to aim higher. I'm able to challenge myself and run towards problems and issues at a greater speed and frequency than I have ever had in the past. And that's, I feel like, led me to a place now where I'm being able to create the now, the present, and be more present and create a lot of the outcomes that I really want. And so for all of you who are listening still, thank you. Thank you for letting me share this. It's not super easy. It's also not something I talk about very often, but I think it is helpful even to one of you who are going through a tough challenge right now, whether it be divorce or professional challenges or issues and pain points, or small things. I think if you allow yourself the permission to be sad, you surround yourself with people who believe in you, you forgive yourself, and don't question why you did certain things, you forgive yourself, and you're mindful throughout the day of the triggers that are causing pain, the triggers that are causing frustration and anger, just to be self-aware. Then you can focus on being grateful of the small things. And those gratitude moments compound on itself. And then you become an empowered, stronger, more capable, professional and personal individual. And I think that's helped me be a much better partner to Sadie. It's helped me be a great father to Parker. It's helped me be a good father to Belle, our dog, and a better leader, a more compassionate, vulnerable leader, and with empathy at our agency, with BobbleOn, and to a lot of people who I'm honored to mentor throughout the industry. So yeah, that's it. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was for any of you going through challenge or who will face it in the future. Hope you can pull on some of this and it'll help you get through it. BobbleOn.